Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is Mr. Corbitt. It was written by Michael DeWolf and appears in Mansions of Madness. It's one of my favorite scenarios, and this will be the third time we've run it. I'm the Game Master, and this is episode 2. Our recap will be given by Yusuf Gita as his character, Horatio Hornigold. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Yusuf?
My neighbors and I attended a rather splendid barbecue at the Harrows. Even Bernard Corbitt was present. As you know, he's been a recluse since his wife passed all those years ago. The conversation ranged from local affairs, where the university's baseball team inadvertently killed their goat mascot in a prank gone wrong. The asylum was flooded and its patients transferred to the ill-equipped Central Hospital. And a slayer of pets, dubbed the Jackal, is still at large, even after 2 years of police investigations. To the less disturbing news of Mr. Corbitt's trouble with raccoons, raiding his splendid vegetable patch and garden. Gervais was his usual boastful self and insisted on using me to show how one of his stage tricks worked. I'm sure he does it on purpose, just to rile me. Corbitt left rather early, and some of the fellows talked about finding him a possible paramour. Jacobus even suggested Josephine, my housekeeper, as a suitable candidate, despite being over twice his age. Gervais and Eugene came up with a rather childish bet about whose trap design would be better in order to rid Corbitt of his garden pests. And the next day, while Corbitt was out on one of his driving excursions, they invaded his backyard to see where best to place them. I am ashamed to say I was drawn in on their caper, but in my defense, I was only there to make sure it did not get too out of hand. What did strike me as curious, however, was Corbitt's whitewashed greenhouse. It had a rather sturdy padlock, and I couldn't help but indulge my curiosity and rub away at the paint to take a peek inside. But all I could see was a plethora of flora and a rather striking golden oriental statue within. The next afternoon, we were invited over for cards at the Harrows. And while we were playing, and due to my position at the table, which gave me a direct visual access to Corbitt's front door across the road, I saw Corbitt return to his home. He was struggling with his keys and carelessly dropped the parcels he was carrying, dislodging one of them from its wrapping. What at first looked like a fish of some sort was, in my opinion at least, and to my horror, a severed arm.
All right. So you're sitting there at the table, and Horatio, you weren't the only one who saw it. Was it Jacobus who also saw it?
Jacobus saw this as well, yes.
You guys are in the middle of playing cards, and suddenly Horatio and Jacobus both have a start as they're playing their games. What do you guys do?
Jacobus, you got a royal flush, I guess? It's got you all excited?
Just get my my sense a little bit. Horatio, did you see that? Sorry, Peter, but Bernard just came back and he dropped something which looked quite suspicious. I think it was an hand.
It was an arm. I'm sure
arm.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Didn't you guys say you saw a statue in the garden? I mean, so he's probably just bringing it in piece by piece from Greece or something like that. With all the socialism, creeping across Europe, it's probably hard to export. The capitalist dogs. So I'm sure he's just sneaking some Venetian statue over piece by piece by piece.
But it was floppy. It looked like a fish at first, but there was definitely a hand, fingers.
It seemed to me it was wrapped in butcher. When you buy meat at a butcher in that brown paper wrapping, and that wasn't a ball that was dropped. It did not bounce.
Keeper, I assume that Corbitt is inside by now and there's nothing to be seen?
Yeah, he's inside.
You know, I'm sure he sells rings, and you need those little mannequin arms to put rings on, and they can be made of fabric. It could be a fish whose tail was frayed. Where would you get an arm?
Any fish that likes that?
I actually have. I've got a set of legs in the workshop, so it wouldn't be a far stretch. Maybe he's getting in on the the construction of stage equipment game here. You know, we made those traps. Maybe he's trying to return in kind. You know,
maybe it's just too odd.
We simply do not know enough by now.
It was rather disturbing. I hope you're right in your theories.
Jacobus, when you said it wasn't a ball because it didn't bounce, are you suggesting that it was round-ish but not a sphere?
It was, he picked it up quite quick, and the only item that unwrapped was the presumed arm. I'm just thinking if we went to the butcher's, let's assume we went to the butcher's and he got some meat, and what that was maybe meatloaf that unwrapped, I don't know. Then might have been a leg of lamb that he had. But if it's part of human, I hope it's not a head.
Maybe it's for the.
That's silly. Let me get my gin.
What's my read on these guys? I mean, they're not very excitable and easily spooked, are they? Or given the flights of fancy, based on how well I know them.
You guys can decide that. They seem rather average and normal.
You could probably describe Horatio as squeamish, not very manly, somewhat a mother's boy, doesn't drink, bookish.
Jacobus was in he was in South Africa during the Boer War, so he's seen some action. You wouldn't particularly call him squeamish.
And you're in the medical. You're a pharmacist.
Pharmacist. Yes, yeah.
So no, neither one of them seems to be given to flights of fancy.
I believe, Eugene, it's your bet.
Yeah.
It's currently about 4 in the afternoon.
Peter, I meant to ask you earlier on, how's Michael doing? He doesn't come out of his room much these days, does he?
Not to talk to us, certainly.
And his room is his room looking onto the street?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
He's got a front room.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you think
Peter,
he saw your severed limb?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, if you won't mind terribly.
I mean,
maybe he saw something as well.
Much more likely to have his face in a comic book, but I have drawn up to a pair of 4s, so I'll fold and see if the boy's seen anything. Be right back.
Thank you.
Horatio, you should pour yourself another lemonade. You look a little parched.
Well, actually, can I use your bathroom?
Certainly. No.
I get up and go to the bathroom. Splash some water over my face. Compose myself.
And Peter, you're going to go upstairs. What was your son's name again? I'm sorry.
He's Michael.
Michael. Michael is laying on his bed reading comic books. so he's not in a position to look out the window.
Mikey, do you want to get any fresh air? All right. You didn't happen to see Mr. Corbitt come home, did you? Just a few minutes ago?
No, Dad. How could I see him? I'm just lying here in the bed reading comics.
You know, sometimes people your age move more than a few inches an hour. But, yeah. I hope Superman pulls through. I'll see you later.
Superman is I read Marvel.
Not yet, you don't.
I who cares? All right. So you come back downstairs. Horatio, did you want to do anything other than splash water and?
No, just that, and then return to the table. So you
return to the table. All right. So you're all back at the table. Is there anything more you want to discuss or do?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, reiterate that I don't think there's anything to worry about. I can go talk to him if you guys are worried about it. But I mean, it's Mr. Corbitt. Come on.
You're probably right.
I'm sure you are, Surveys. I'm sure you are.
Since I'm also direct neighbors, to Mr. Corbitt, do I know if one of my house has direct vision towards what he might have done right there, since they were talking about a severed arm?
There's probably at least one of your windows that looks directly across at his house, but you would be seeing the left side of his house.
So probably not.
You probably wouldn't see the porch, no, but you can see very clearly into his backyard. You're kind of on the greenhouse side.
I'll have to ask Maria later. Yeah.
What's that?
I'll have to ask Maria later.
Okay. Oh, and his porch is, a little covered affair. So very likely the only place you could see what was going on would be where you are, looking right into the porch. There's hedges and plants and stuff around the sides.
So as you may remember from last weekend, I kind of fell asleep while we were chatting there. I can't remember if Mr. Corbitt had meat to eat. He's not vegetarian, is he? I can't remember now.
Do an idea roll.
No.
Well, he never provides meat. Obviously, he's not growing any kind of livestock. He's just got vegetables and fruits. But you think that he's eating ribs and hamburgers and things.
Yeah, it's probably he just went to the butcher. It's just it might have been just light falling badly on the porch there, Horatio. Well, let's play some cards, gentlemen. No use overthinking that we might have seen.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right, Jacobus.
All right, so you guys spend the rest of the evening having a pleasurable time playing cards, drinking a little, and eventually going home and retiring. But that whole affair has kind of got you a little bit unnerved. How much do you really know about Mr. Corbitt? None of you are really nosy neighbors. All you have to go on is what people tell you. And people can lie. So you just, it kind of eats at you a little. The next morning, however, is Monday. So some of you have work to do. Eugene, you've probably got some sort of woodworking project
Yeah, there is the classic coffins because that's my main business. But there is also things people ask me when I find the time and things like that. Yeah, of course.
Okay. And Horatio?
It's June, isn't it? Are there classes held at that time of year at the university?
University, there might be a summer schedule. I'm not exactly sure. Probably at Miskatonic.
So yeah, I'd probably be attending or giving lectures at the university.
Okay. And David, you're a lawyer. Do you have any work?
Oh, always and ever. And I usually see Corbitt go back and forth. He's regular as clockwork. My window faces the street. We're not far down from each other.
Mm-hmm. And Jacobus, you've got the pharmacy.
Yes, I've got that. The west wall we need to repaint. The guys messed up with the installation there. Some nice lead paint that came in. Nice shiny, greenish tint that we plan to put in there.
So, Will, do you have a large workshop downtown, or is your workshop in your garage, part of your on your property, maybe your basement? That's you.
No. Okay, yeah. So I didn't know if this was an out of character Will thing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Survey.
Totally cool. I just yeah. So I think there's the small workshop in the basement because he just can't stop tinkering with stuff.
Sure.
It's not so much a workshop that's downtown as much as it's more of like a warehouse that has a workbench that's in the shipping district.
But you probably have room to work on larger mechanisms that you need for your larger tricks.
Yeah, right. Typically, you would assemble or develop, the individual finer parts of any mechanism, at home. And when it comes time for assembly and, to send them off,
Right.
Like I said, I'm at a point in my career where I'm licensing my various tricks to up and coming magicians. So,
where are you working today?
So I think that I'm probably at the warehouse there. The whole arm thing, and then our traps and all that has me just kind of going through my old bag of tricks, so to speak, and just kind of thinking about days gone past.
Okay. So you all go to work, and in the process of either going or getting ready to go and all that, you do notice that Mr. Corbitt follows his regular routine precisely. He leaves at the same time he always leaves. He's always very well dressed, and he heads off. There's probably not more than 10 or 15 minutes before each of you would have to leave for work as well. But I'll give you that opportunity if you want to do anything in between. I mean, there's not really anything that you could do in that amount of time, but otherwise you're going to work.
I cycle to work. I don't drive.
Right.
I'm a cyclist.
Some of you might even walk because it's only 20 minutes walk.
Given the degree to which I know Jacobus and Horatio and the level of disturbance they both displayed, did that linger with me? Did it bother me? Did I have unsteady sleep?
Well, there's that feeling that, everything in your neighborhood is always perfect. What if there's something under the surface that you don't know about? It's that sort of conspiracy theory sort of stuff that kind of sticks in your mind. It's probably nothing. The man's very nice man.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody had a dark secret, I'm not sure I would think it was Corbitt, and he's given me keys to his home, so I feel he's unlikely to be hiding anything. All I've done is drop mail off on his, hall desk, but still. Okay.
Now, to clarify, you don't have those keys all the time. He gives them to you when he goes on a trip.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Jacobus is going to make a note of when Mr. Corbitt's, what his movements looks like during the week. I think it bugs me enough to take a pause each time I get out of the house and just look over to his place. Is his car there? What he does. I mean, I can't imagine seeing an arm. It's just crazy. And I'll ponder this as I walk to work.
You continually try to convince yourself that what you think you saw, you couldn't have possibly seen. And you keep trying to eliminate it with a fish, some sort of vegetable, something, but you keep seeing that arm. Like the arm of a little child, it was, which makes it even stranger. So it nags at you. Mr. Corbitt, if you are watching him and keeping track, you would probably notice if anything unusual happened, because he's kind of, I mean, it's back then they didn't have a name for it, but it's kind of obsessive compulsive. He leaves at precisely the same time. He comes home at precisely the same time. He goes to lunch at precisely the same time. He probably, unless there's extenuating circumstances, he eats at the same place every day. You know, Maestro's down the street. You often see him there. Sometimes you might even join him there.
Does the local butcher use that type of paper in wrapping its meat?
Probably. It's very common. It's what they all use. And he also, what do I want to say? I say extenuating circumstances. If he has a client, of course, that timetable gets thrown off a little bit or whatever. He has employees. He has shops all around him. Pretty much, like I say, he's in the Businessman's Association. So people in town are familiar with him. It's not a huge town.
By the way, since he's going out of his home at a precise time, do I smell something specific, something like I can find strange, going by what Horatio and Jacob said, as he potentially goes real close to?
Well, his routine is back to normal. The only variations in his routine are Saturdays he gardens, and he's not always obviously doing the same thing, because sometimes something doesn't need to get done. He doesn't need to trim his hedges every single week.
I'm just going by the smell here, because since my character has this
Right.
developed kind of smell, sense of smell, rather.
Well, you've never really had the inclination to snoop, but when you say smell, what exactly are you trying
Maybe
to find?
you mean some kind of smell, can not really some repugnant, but something that can potentially hide other smells, or.
And where are you looking
know.
for this? On him or around
On him, if
at
he
his
gets
house?
close to my house. If he doesn't, that doesn't make any sense.
He definitely wears cologne. But then
Cologne,
again,
so strong, yeah.
probably most people wear cologne.
Strong perfume.
In the afternoons, he probably smells like he's been on his feet all day. Not completely unpleasant, but less perfumey.
Okay.
Your heightened sense of smell. Do you have like a smell roll?
I think I was going for
Spot hidden.
spot hidden. because it was the most.
Yeah, roll a spot hidden.
77. Can I spend luck?
Yes, you can. You can always spend luck on.
I'm spending 12
Oof.
to make it pass.
Okay. Well, since you spent the luck, you definitely can smell that he likes bacon.
Okay.
But that's about all. Because bacon's got a rather strong smell.
Okay.
Um,
Strong smells in general.
Anyone else?
Did Corbitt ever get back to me by chance about that thing we spoke about? He said he'd get back to me Monday.
Not yet. I mean, he's just left for work. We're still.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, how close is my workshop to the Mr. Corbitt's import-export location?
Well, I didn't actually lay out downtown, but what I've told you all is that you're fairly close, and you often see him walking past, let's say on the way to lunch or to the post office. He might walk to the post office and take mail. So you're all kind of clustered in that central downtown.
Is his shop on the way to my cycle route on the way to university?
Sure. Yeah. And you've all probably glanced into his shop. He's got interesting things, big Asian statues with spears and golden screens and hookahs and all kinds of things that you would get from India and China, the Orient.
And I see him in his shop when I cycle past.
Not usually, because you can't see really into it. It's
okay.
You'd have to go into it.
But the shop's open.
May or may not have been in his shop. That's up to you. It's interesting place.
Unless he has pirate memorabilia, I probably wouldn't be that interested.
Right.
Or books, literature books.
It's mostly the Oriental, Asian, Indian stuff.
Not my expertise at all.
Is the local paper daily, or is it like a weekly publication?
Yeah, there is the Arkham Sentinel is daily.
Yeah. Is there any arm related articles, like anything about any missing, arms?
You want to spend some time doing that?
Yeah, I would say probably while I'm on my way to town or on my way to the shop, I'll pick up today's paper and read it, while I'm trying to kill time and justify, to my wife not going back on tour. I need to spend as much time in the office as possible.
Okay. And then we'll say that you take your paper to work with you, and then when you're taking a break, you'll sit there and you'll be reading it and looking through it. Do a spot hidden for me.
That's a regular success.
Okay. By the end of the day, I'm going to skip and say that by the end of the day, you've pretty much read through the whole thing. You don't see anything about a missing arm or anything like that. So let's jump ahead just a little to around lunchtime. And right on schedule, you see him leave the office and walk down the street. Now, when he leaves the shop, he leaves in charge his, I think he's got 2 guys. Hold on. He's actually got 3 guys, Stanley, Mark, and Bill. Stanley's the sales assistant. Mark and Bill are loading and shipping. They're a bit more brutish, so they can pick up some of the furniture and move it around. That's just for your information, that you know that he's got employees there. And he walks down the street to Maestro's. Do any of you want to do anything? Remember, it's lunchtime for you too.
I'd probably have my lunch on campus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna harangue him about looking into that thing we talked about.
All right.
I might have one day in the week as a routine to eat at Maestro's if it's a decent enough restaurant.
Okay, so survey. You've got your roll-up door, because sometimes you have to move things in and out. You've got your roll-up door open because it's kind of hot and you get some air going through there. And you see him walk by. He's a very focused man, so he's not like looking around and stuff. He's just walking straight by. So he's at the moment walking by in front of your shop.
Can I have been maybe working on my saw lady in half thing, and as he's walking by, kind of accidentally on purpose push the leg off and have it roll into his path, replicating the mishap he had the other day?
Okay. All right. The leg, the leg falls off and rolls out in front of his in his path, and he stops with a sudden start. And he looks over at you, and then smiles and picks the leg up, and he says, "I think your lady lost one of her appendages."
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Sorry about that. I'm all thumbs, and then I do like one of those like these thing, super lame sleight of hand. Yeah.
He looks at your apparatus and he says, "You're I think maybe your talents are wasted. You could be some sort of engineer. Is this how this works?" And he's sort of looking at the thing.
How around this time, not even everybody had electricity, I guess, in some rural parts, and a lot of times the gears and the mechanisms that operate the tricks could be out in the open because there just was no frame of reference for people to draw upon to deduce that that's how the trick was performed. So it would be pretty abnormal for him to be able to just look at some of these complex gears and stuff. Is he responding with a sense of familiarity to to these things, or does it seem like it's this whiz bang tomfoolery that he's never
it seemed more like he was just trying to be friendly and polite. He couldn't perform the trick or know how it works.
So you heading down to grab a bite? You want me to join you?
Please.
Okay, yeah. Just I wanted to discuss the imports from.
Oh yes, I put in a call this morning, but so far we haven't gotten a response. Sometimes it takes them a while. A telephone call to India sometimes can take a couple of hours. If I don't get a response by the end of the day, I'll see what I can do.
But is it? And I kind of lean in. Is it real?
Is what real?
Is it real, man? I sound foolish even saying it. Is it real magic? I think we spoke about the so when Survey was over there, he saw something that was real, and he's kind of been trying to get Corbitt to procure him something from the estate of one of the Maharajas or whatever, I'd say we're friendly enough that he would have told him that the reason why he's having him look for this stuff.
Well, let's have lunch and we'll discuss it. It's really a matter of perspective, and just like in anything, there's a lot of, as you say, tomfoolery. Anyways, so you guys continue. You close up shop. I don't know if you have assistants or whatever, but you leave with him. Does anybody else want to join him or?
I'm going to just step away from the wall that I've been painting the whole bloody morning. It's like, my back is killing me. Jenny, so turning to my assistant, Jenny, do you know if the butcher is open on Sundays?
That is probably a great question. Probably not.
Oh, thanks. I was just something that's bothering me a little bit, but I'll speak to Peter and see if he knows anyone. We've got a barbecue coming up, and I sometimes one wants to get something to barbecue on the Sunday, and then I'm rambling. Thanks, Jenny. I'll just turn away and start looking at the books or something like that. Get out a sandwich I brought from home.
Just to remind everybody, it's currently the 2nd of July is today. It was a week after. Yeah, it's the 2nd of July. 4th of July is on Wednesday. So it's Monday. And of course, everybody's off. Nobody works on 4th of July.
Go ahead.
While I'm on campus, do I overhear or any conversations with Corbitt as subject?
No, nothing.
There's nothing like that. Okay. And I'll just carry on as normal then.
Okay.
I generally walk to work.
Right.
Does Mr. Corbitt usually drive or also walk?
He usually drives.
Does he often have parcels, obviously, going back and forth? Or does he generally just carry a little briefcase?
I don't think that you've seen him do, maybe a little briefcase. Yeah, you've never seen him with parcels.
Well, since he's set in his ways, and I know when he'll be taking lunch, I guess I'll just take, it'll only take 10 minutes to go in and see if there are any sort of child-sized mannequin arms for jewelry and the like in his shop. Yeah.
All right. And you're going to go in during lunch?
Yes, I don't really want to chat with him about what
Okay.
my friends saw over cards.
Right. And Jacobus, were you going to do anything, or are you just continuing to paint?
I'll take a break. I have a sandwich there. If I see anyone familiar walking to Maestro's, I'll probably join them.
Okay.
So that's just a chance.
And Eugene, what are you?
I think during the lunch break, I'm gonna maybe try to talk to him. Maybe go at the same restaurant and ask him about the wood I was waiting for. Well, he talked to me about this.
So we'll
party,
say it this way. It's Mr. Corbitt and Survey arrive first, and it's warm, so they sit outside under an umbrella and order some pasta or something like that from Maestro's. Peter, you happen to be walking and you see them sitting there. And Eugene, you also see them sitting there. You're kind of coming from opposite directions. Horatio, you're at the school. And Jacobus, you're not, or well, maybe, yeah, I can say that you saw them as well. So you're all sort of coming together at Maestro's. Oh, everybody's here. It's a small table. Maybe you can take the table next to us.
Yeah, we can ask them about it. Yeah, if you don't mind, unless you guys are up to, have your heads together about something.
Well, no. let's have a slight conversation though with Cervase before you guys arrive. I would say that in most things that there are charlatans everywhere. If there is any such thing as real magic, it's not going to be found easily. It's going to be very obscure. You're going to find it with religious cults, and they're going to keep it very secret. India has more deities than they have people living there, so who can say? But I'll find you some interesting things that are at least in some way related, but I can't promise anything. There's lots of magicians there, lots of fakirs who dupe the people into believing. Do you know how that Indian rope trick is?
Yeah. He actually Survey is the one who copyrighted that and actually patented it for distribution in America. So can I make an occult roll to throw some specific Indian religious mumbo jumbo at him, just show him that this isn't the is magic real 101 type conversation, get him to trust me a little more so he can show me the goods.
I'm sure. Do a intelligence roll or
so I'm gonna spend 6 luck to get just a regular success.
Okay. Oh, I'm surprised. You've been studying. I've of course picked up a little of the religious beliefs and so forth myself. I think the general gist of a lot of it is that the deities were once like us, and that they've ascended and become far more powerful, whereas at some point in our history, we will too. We will become like them, and they'll be that much higher above us, and they'll still be gods. But I'm not sure I believe any of that. I mean, it's like you and everybody else in this country, we were raised in a Christian environment, so
I think at this point I'll try to relay to him what I'd experienced a little bit, just to try to sell him on not the idea that that I believe it, kind of.
Well, what did you experience?
That's pretty fuzzy. I can't even really put it to words. It's almost like I remember it like a dream, and the synesthesia, the sights and sounds and smells and all the other mixed. It's like a mythos thing I can't describe, basically. But I just saw somebody change into something else during this exclusive show. You know what I mean? In some far off palace or whatever.
Well, I'd almost want to say that if it was any kind of a demonstration or show, that it was fake. It was magic of some sort. But
right, yeah. I mean, this is more of a like one of those culty type
religious.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Have you ever read the Bhagavad Gita?
In real life, have I?
No, I'm asking the character.
Yeah, I'm thinking that at this point he would have researched that whole thing extensively.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's all a matter of perspective, and that's when everybody else starts to converge.
Yeah. All right. Well, fishing expedition. It didn't turn out so well, but that's all right.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Fancy seeing you all here.
Yeah, this is a rare treat.
I think I'm just kind of looking a little bit disappointed, and I get up and excuse myself for a minute and just kind of like walk off and start smoking a filterless cigarette there by the edge of the causeway.
Chesterfield?
Yeah, sure.
Bernard, are you quite sure it's okay to join you?
Of course, of course. It's like I say, it's quite a rare treat. We're practically all becoming chummy. I mean, you people have always been chummy, but I've been rather out of the mix for quite a while.
It's good to socialize. Speaking of which, plans for the 4th? Anyone planning something extravagant or big? Or is it just going to be a lazy about at home day?
Oh, I think we'll take advantage of the long weekend to get together. Nobody's already offered to host, Keeper?
You guys can make
Well,
yeah.
at my home, except projects and my creations, I don't do much. So it wouldn't be the most welcoming place, but at least it would smell good. Talking about this, Mr. Corbitt, how is the wood delivery going?
I'm sorry, how is the
Wood delivery.
Oh, the delivery?
Mm.
Who can say? We'll if there's a problem in the next week or so, we'll look into it. But shipping stuff across the sea it can take
it takes
weeks.
time. This is why I can make my clients wait a bit since I'm majorly the only one working at the place. But yeah, several weeks might be a bit too much for them. But we will see about it at due time.
I myself plan on having a rather quiet day. Y'all can do psychology.
By the way, I was wondering. I did realize that you were wearing some cologne. So I was wondering what kind of perfume you were interested into.
Oh,
I might possibly get some from France.
It's I'm almost embarrassed to say it's a rather inexpensive cologne that I normally use, but I have a bottle of perfume that my wife was very fond of, and I do occasionally put a little bit on. It's very floral, it's very sweet, but it reminds me of her, and you understand. Those of you who passed your psychology rules, you can see that when you guys start talking about 4th of July, there's a kind of a dark shadow that crosses his face. He is not a very social person, and that coupled with the perfume question and him talking about his wife, that whole thing, that tragedy back then still really deeply affects him.
What time of year did his wife pass away?
About 12 years ago.
What time of year?
Oh,
it's not an anniversary, though.
I actually think it was in May. Hold on. I'm almost dead sure it was in May. May 6th. It was, it was around May 6th, 1911. She was 23. They'd only been married.
Say, you boys got a light?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sure.
You threw it too far. Here, let me go grab that real quick.
I'm very fond of their mezzalunas. They're delicious. So kind of a well, you guys probably know. Everybody loves maestros.
That's projects I should start to get into. I don't think they are so hard to make.
It's the grapes that are the surprise, the raisins. You don't expect that sudden little burst of sweetness with the meat and the sauce. Anything else you guys want to talk to him about? He seems very pleasant and friendly, very upright. And
No luck with the raccoons yet, Bernard?
nothing so far.
The neighborhood is dying to resolve their various
I guess it's
internecine.
if I understand the little creatures, they're probably coming up, looking at your traps, and then going after my corn.
Well,
Afraid it's too
I
likely.
took the. By the way, about that, I took the liberty of instead of explaining, which I'm kind of out of it about it, but writing actually and drawing the trap.
Oh, I see. Very interesting.
Delightful. Did you have an exotic shopping trip this weekend, Bernard?
Do I have one coming up? Are you asking?
No, this past weekend. Did you
Oh.
pick up anything unusual?
I mean, I went for my usual drive. Sometimes I like to go up to the woods and wander around just a little bit.
Do you ever collect mushrooms or that sort of thing?
Yes, I do actually. I've collected a number of interesting fungal specimens. I've told you before about my interest in fertilizers and trying to find various chemical extractions. Mushrooms and things like that have a huge variety of compounds and enzymes and things that, meticulous science, just trial and error, one thing at a time, and maybe in 50 years I'll find something that's amazing, and then I'll release it to the world, and then I'll die.
I don't know anything about mycology myself, but they come in all sorts of exotic shapes and sizes and colors.
And that's just the fruiting bodies above the ground. There is a kind of a mycelial network that may stretch all around the world underneath the ground. Everything interconnected. Life itself is all interconnected.
Are there any fruiting bodies that look like human hands? Like, how there's that root that famously looks like a little person that superstitious people believe can do things?
Mandrake you're talking about. Yes.
Right. Yeah, mandrake. Are there any mushrooms that look like little hands or arms? I'm not embarrassing you, Jacobus, am I?
No. I'm just not looking you like looking away. The chain of questioning is kind of a little bit awkward.
It's an interesting question, and you notice there's kind of it's almost as if Mr. Corbitt freezes in time for a few moments. He's searching his memory. He's gone very quiet, and he's like, there are a number of odd things commonly called stinkhorns that look very much like tentacles reaching up out of the ground. There are coral funguses that I suppose would look a lot like hands.
Are these things local, or is that, it's in the great wide world?
No, you can find them in the woods. I do very well oftentimes finding such things in the woods. I sometimes bring them home and grind them up and analyze their chemical components.
Have you got a microscope and all?
Oh yes. I've got a lab set up. Yes.
I'm surprised that you don't. businesses are done so well, I'm almost surprised that you don't retire altogether and focus on your horticultural studies.
I like the routine of getting up every day. I like having employees that respect me, and I like the smoothness of the operation. Hobbies are hobbies, you know. At this point, he definitely looks a little disturbed, but he's trying to just keep it, you know.
Oh, the poker face. Okay.
Say, Mr. Corbitt, didn't you say you were going to be getting a load of that Oriental China in today? You know, Tweedledee and Tweedledum over there. I don't know if they should be the ones handling it. Isn't your shipment due about now? I can get your sandwich wrapped and bring it over to you, but you know, I mean, obviously we love. We love when you know, we love having you for lunch. I just don't want your business to suffer as a result.
Stanley can handle himself. Arkansas are more than competent, but perhaps you're right. I have enjoyed our conversation very much, and I hope to see you again really soon. I probably won't be available for 4th of July, but
Please do consider it. You're more than welcome. It was a delight to see you the other week.
thank you.
And if you don't object, I'd like to get everyone's lunch.
Oh, that's very kind.
Thank you, Peter.
And with that, Mr. Corbitt thanks you all and leaves. And,
Gentlemen,
go straight.
was it just, well, it seemed more than just myself that felt a little bit awkward about that mushroom arm hand question. Did you also see Mr. Corbitt's demeanor change there?
For a person who is as mild-mannered as Bernard Corbitt is in general, I did think he seemed perturbed. I was going to make an open joke about it initially, and then I thought maybe if I provided a sort of subtle intimation that he would laugh himself and explain something. But he seemed evasive and uncomfortable.
What do we really know about him? It feels like he's been, well, at least all the time I've been in our street, he's been there. But you've been there much longer a resident than I.
I mean, he and I were neighbors when he lost his wife and child. I wouldn't say that he was outgoing or spontaneous before that happened, but he was certainly happier. I don't know what else you could say. He's a man who's suffered a great loss and has buried himself in rigorous activity. He's very good at everything he does. I have a lot of respect for him. If he were to be bringing any body parts home, the only ones I can imagine would be his poor departed wife's for some taxidermy project. But it's been 12 years. She's not, and she wasn't child-sized. So I think he must have been collecting fungus or ferns or any number of things that, I mean, it's what? 60 feet from my front window to his front door. It's quite a ways to see a detail as little as a child's fingers.
You mentioned he has a lab set up in his house. Have you ever seen it?
I have. I mean, he's never hosted, and when I have collected mail and such for him, I've barely gone past the front entry hall. I assume if he had a lab, it would be, well, who knows? He could have replaced the dining room, and I would probably have noticed the doors drawn. It's certainly an ample house to have a few rooms for hobbies in.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's quite a big house.
If he's growing fungus, that would be in the cellar, I assume.
Most probably. Yes. Well, I need to get that wall all dried up before I do the second coat. I think I may visit the library and see if I can find some information about Bernard, just to see what the world said about him.
Well, again, I've got to check, and yes, we all have work to do, I suppose.
I left my copy of the Sentinel back at the warehouse. Any of you folks have it with you today? Did
There's
you pick it up?
probably one setting out here.
Yeah. What about any reports of like graves? You know, like not people missing. Yeah. Are there any disturbed graves or anything
You
reported?
didn't run across anything like that.
Okay.
Tom, do I know of Bernard's interest in finding the perfect fertilizer?
Yeah,
He's mentioned it.
He mentioned it at the barbecue.
Can I go to the library on campus at the Miskatonic, or do I have any books? No, I probably wouldn't have any books myself.
There's a whole botany department at the university. So,
can I find any books on fertilizer, but with ancient Greek or ancient Roman techniques that I think might be useful or might be of interest to him?
Sure. Do a library roll at the library.
Oh, that's 11. That's an extreme.
Okay.
Spot on. Extreme.
Yeah. In fact, you find a number of, we'll say, Aristotle, since he was kind of the scientist of his day, talking about various things to add to the soils. Fish is a major one that they would add.
Okay. It's a library book, so it'll probably be stamped. Is it a common book? Would I be able to
probably look for something rather rare, but you're a university professor, so you have complete access.
Well, I don't want to give him a library book as a gift. My line of thought is maybe I could purchase this book as a gift and an excuse to go to his house.
You would have to talk to Dr. Henry Armitage, who's in charge of the library, and somehow convince him to sell you a library book, which you think you've probably got no chance of doing. He's like the library god there, and
there's no way I could.
You could possibly order the book. You'd have to find a rare book stealer. There might be a few of those in town.
In that case, I'll just take some notes from the book and then present it in a nice format.
Okay.
And I'll probably work on that in the afternoon, as I haven't got many lectures in the afternoon.
Okay.
So that's what I'll be working on for the rest of the day.
So that's what you're working on. A little bit of research into the ancient Greek and Roman agricultural practices. Peter and Jacobus, you guys are both heading to the library independently. Surveys. I assume you're heading back to your shop. Is there anything else you want to do?
No, not really. Yeah, I think Yeah. Other than maybe I'll keep an eye out across the way. I'll keep the shutter open for the rest of the day there, and just see see what Mr. Survey's up to, or Mr. Corbitt's up to.
Okay. And Eugene, you're probably back in your shop.
Back in my shop, I'm gonna write down to make a research on mushrooms, because logically, due to French culture about mushrooms, maybe find something later.
All right. So Peter and Jacobus, you've both headed towards the library, the main Arkham library, independently, but you both see each other as you are walking up to the library.
It's not the same library that I'm
No,
using, is it?
you're at the Miskatonic library, correct? There's another library, a public library. It's very likely that the Miskatonic probably doesn't keep copies of every newspaper from the Arkham Sentinel, but the regular library does. So what are you guys looking for now that you're at the library?
Jacobus said I think he was looking for historical material about Mr. Corbitt. I'm all interested in any missing children in the county for the last, say, 10 days.
Okay. So
something Peter mentioned about taxidermy and Mr. Corbitt's wife. I'm trying to find information about the death of his wife, just to see the circumstances that surrounded that period in his life, just to kind of get an idea of what how would that sort of set him, take him forward, sort of way you would think going forward from there.
All right, do Jacobus do a library roll. Peter, also do a library roll.
That was a terrible fail. Not extreme, but not good.
And Peter, how did you do?
I had to remove my character sheet from underneath a small cat. And that I rolled just 1 point under my so to a basic with just barely 59 for 60.
Well, Peter, you go through at least 10 days and you don't find any reference at all to any child dying or anything like that. There's probably a few people that died, but old people. Jacobus, you sit there for at least an hour trying to find newspaper articles. Go ahead and roll again. You spent 1 hour.
That's a pass.
Okay, so you passed. So you're looking and you're thumbing back and forth. You know the general, or in general time. The first thing that you actually find is let's see this.
Obituaries, July 19th, 1910. Corbitt, Olivia, age 63, widow of Theodore Corbitt and mother of Bernard Corbitt, passed away in her sleep at Our Lady of Perpetual Help nursing home this morning. Mrs. Corbitt had been under the care of Sisters of Mercy since September of last year. It is believed that she died of grief following the death of her husband. She is survived by her son Bernard Corbitt, president of Corbitt Importers of America. Funeral services will be held at St. Paul's Church in Arkham this Sunday. It's kind of interesting.
Would you like to roll another library roll?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pursue this line a little bit to find out what happened to Bernard's father. That is an extreme 7.
Oh, very nice. Okay. You go back a little bit and
right, let's see. Local businessman killed in accident. It was learned today that Theodore Corbitt, owner of Corbitt Importers of America, is dead. victim of a tragic accident while vacationing in India. I'm pretty sure. Right, I need to talk to Savar about this a little bit. Corbitt, while in the company of his son Bernard, died in a fall while the two were traveling through the high mountains of Nepal. According to authorities, the two men were on a hiking trip when they were set upon by a group of bandits known to frequent the area. While being pursued down the mountainside, the elder Corbitt apparently lost his footing and fell to his death. My goodness. His son managed to escape eventually, making it to safety. The elder Corbitt's body had not been located, and authorities fear that it might be lost, possibly consumed by the wild dogs that roam the mountain. Theodore Corbitt is survived by his wife, Olivia Maria, and one son, Bernard. At this time, it's not known if Bernard Corbitt will take over the management of Corbitt Importers. So June 5th, 1909. Well, he lost his parents quite close to each other. Interesting.
And you got an extreme. So in the process, you also find this.
Obituaries, May 6th, 1911. Corbitt, Lynn Ann Myers, age 23, died in childbirth in her home. A graduate of the Pierpoint School, Mrs. Corbitt was married to local businessman Bernard Corbitt a little over a year ago. And so that means he was married the year his mother died, and then his wife died just after that. Funeral services for both mother and child will be held Saturday afternoon at St. Paul's Church in Arkham. Mrs. Corbitt is survived by her parents, Edward and Shirley Myers, and her husband, Bernard Corbitt, president of Corbitt Importers of America. So it seems like the child died, well, obviously, at the same time. Fascinating.
Is there anything else you'd like to search for in the newspaper? Or now that Peter has sort of joined you, is there anything Peter would like to search for in the newspapers?
Well, I can say, Jacobus, that this all seems very morbid. And since whatever you and Horatio think you saw was clearly innocent, I think the fact that Bernard's tragedies were so compounded gives us all the more reason to leave the fellow in peace.
Yeah, based on what I've seen here, I mean, it's quite dreadful. All in 3 years' time, he lost both parents, wife and child.
It is troubling that he witnessed his father's death. And curious that the newspaper reported that they didn't know whether he would take over the company. Who else would? It's a family business. They were there together.
I wonder what his career plans were at that point. But you know, other people's business are sometimes not fast to know, I guess.
Peter, do a library roll.
That's 19, which is a hard. Yes, a hard success.
Okay. As you're sitting there looking through Jacobus now has a number of newspapers scattered. There's one from just a couple of months ago, and an article on the front of it sort of catches your attention. And it's this.
Oh, more of this jackal business here. Local men questioned on animal slayings. Police today announced that a suspect had been brought in and questioned in connection with the recent rash of pet kidnappings in the southwest part of town. Although released later for lack of evidence, Randolph Tomaszewski is considered the prime suspect in the recent disappearances of nearly a dozen dogs and cats from the homes and yards of the neighborhood surrounding Central Hospital. Tomaszewski is employed at the hospital as an orderly. Grim. It will be remembered that many of the missing pets have been discovered later in parks usually mutilated or partially eaten. Public outcry over the atrocities has been strong, and police hope that they have uncovered a lead that will eventually allow them to close the case. And that was from March 16th, so if this Tomaszewski is still on the loose, perhaps they were going down the wrong path.
Let's relate to the Jackal article we saw. It sounds like that.
It sounds like it, yeah. And here it is later, and they're not talking about that fellow, but just this comic book name of the Jackal. The limb that you saw, is it possible that it was an animal limb?
No, it didn't have fur on it. No, it was, well, I'm not now sure anymore what we saw, but it definitely was an animal. Definitely didn't have. It wasn't a paw. No.
I wonder how the flooding of the sanatorium is going. Did you run across anything on that in these?
Let's see.
A bunch of bedlamites.
If you ran across anything, it's just continuing doing their best to accommodate the crazies, but they have to do a complete reconstruction of parts of the sanitarium that was completely ruined by the water damage.
Let's see if there's any follow-up with this Tomaszewski. I wonder if he's one of the inmates who's been moved.
What do you think? Is he's a crazy?
Well, if the police suspected him of collecting pets, murdering, mutilating, and eating them, I would say that was cause for an institution.
Most likely.
Is there any further mention of Tomaszewski?
There is not.
Orderly at the hospital. Can you imagine?
Rereading the article, it says that he's employed by the hospital. That's an orderly.
Do you think he'd still be employed, Peter?
Orderlies are the lowest of the low, I think, in hospitals. But just imagine, going to the hospital and being wheeled to your room and noticing the dried blood of Fido under the man's fingernails.
Grim. It's something I just thought about. When Bernard, you mentioned that his wife died at home, or was it an article? I can't.
It was in the article, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, surely must have been some medical person or personnel helping them deliver the child. Do you remember anything of that?
Midwife or resident doctor? I don't recall. There will be. There'll be a death certificate for her. If we really want to continue invading Bernard's privacy.
Yes.
We could tell the others and see if any of them have a bright idea.
Yes. Oh, look at the time. I need to get back to Jenny as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get wry looks from the fellows at the office, too.
All right. So let's see. Did you guys decide where you wanted to do something for 4th of July? Are you going to Eugene's house?
No, I'm hosting again.
I'll have to go by my home first to see if I have a book about mushrooms and potentially finding something that we
have a few days to look for it.
Right. So that's a question. What would you guys like to do in the 2 days before the 4th?
Will you have mentioned what you learned at the library to survey?
I think between the two of us, we'll gossip enough with them that that night and the next day that you'll have my impression, which is that Bernard Corbitt was born under a dark star and has suffered quite enough.
So the incident with his father in India, the fact that there was, whatever the thing was that, that I saw or thought I saw, it had something to do with, say, like, just like the mutilation of a corpse to get like the secrets or something. And it talked like I saw, it's something weird like that. But anyway, the fact that his father died in India and he was there, and I was asking him about magic when I was in India and he didn't bring it up to me, that kind of rings a bit suspicious now, or is that just like that it rings suspicious. So I think I want to take a closer look around his house or something.
Okay, so explain. When are
so
you going to do this? Or?
Yeah, so there's Bosco is the big oaf third of my stage act. There's actually been 9 of them. Several died, throughout the course of my career. But they're basically just whatever guy can fit the role, and usually they don't come from a place of means. I think that perhaps, I might get a hold of him and see if he might want to, I don't know, maybe bust some windows down at the Corbitt shop or something like that. Make a bit of a scene there, so that he can be occupied, and not come home at an inopportune time. More or less, I'm not going to go into the office the next day. And so when he'll probably wake to a call like, hey man, somebody jacked up the shop or something, whatever. And, and so then when he leaves, I'll have a significant amount of time to check the place out.
All right. So you're going to, I'm trying to understand what you said.
I'm just going to just pay my assistant to just break some windows down at his import place, so that I know that for some reason that he's not going to come home during the day. We've all read the pulp dime novels. It always seems like the mark forgets his car keys on the day that you decide to do some research. So I just want to make sure that there's no any reason he may have to come home in an inopportune moment would be overshadowed by the fact that there's a disturbance in his place of business. I want to give myself insurance while I break into his home.
All right. When are you going to do this?
So probably after everybody else leaves for work, because I know how nosy everybody is. I will probably opt to walk to work, afterwards, for pretend I forgot something, and then head back, since town is north, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yeah. What I mean is, when are you going to have your assistant break?
Probably just sometime within the night, so that when his employees show up, they'll notice the broken windows, probably give him a call, and he'll rush out the door.
Okay. Do a luck roll.
So would this be Monday night or Tuesday night?
This would be like Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday early morning, I guess, pre-dawn. Okay. You can't spend luck on a luck, so that is a fail.
Okay. You send. What's your assistant's name? Bosco.
Yeah. For as far as I'm concerned, his name's Bosco.
Okay. You send Bosco to break in to the shop. And what do you do that evening while this is going on? Are you going to bed?
Yeah. I think that I'm going to maybe I'll work on some stuff in the garage, but leave the door open and be banging on plausible deniability and all. Make sure that I'm making a racket. I'll probably wait until Harrow or somebody comes and screams at me to cut it out.
All right. What would you say Bosco's intelligence level is?
He's him trying to think about something is like 2 ping pong balls randomly flying across an empty gymnasium and hoping that they connect.
All right.
So low.
So low. All right. So at 2 a.m., Bosco attempts to break the front window on Mr. Corbitt's with a brick. He is successful, but he is almost immediately stopped by a patrol car that it's the business district, so they do patrol. He is captured and taken to jail, and his one phone call is to you, and it's, "Boss, I'm in jail."
Okay. All right. So how many times have you gotten destruction of property or breaking and entering? Have you done time for this yet? Is this kind of thing before?
No, I never did anything like this before.
Okay. Let's see. I don't have law. Okay. Listen. Just say you're sorry. You're gonna sit till you get arraigned. Say you were drunk, and I'll reimburse you for anything. If you do end up sitting, I'll make sure that the missus gets gets an extra fat ham or whatever. You're gonna do a couple weeks in jail at the most. Okay. I have no clue if this is inaccurate, but I think I'm just talking out my ass. I'm just trying to get him just sit and shut up long enough for me to think about a way to handle it.
Well, he said 2 ping pong balls. That was the first ping pong ball. The other one is when he says, "But boss, they want to talk to you."
Oh shit. Okay. And here comes.
He only said that he was smart.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Damn it. Okay, so I'm gonna I think I'm going to get dressed, and is Mr. Corbitt's light on?
No, at the moment
it's not. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna. I guess I better wait and see what Bosco said before I spin up another lie that I'm gonna get caught up in. I will go to the police station.
Okay. So you get down to the police station, and they're going to question you. Your man here says that you wanted him to break Mr. Corbitt's window. Is it some sort of they're basically guessing that you have some sort of beef with Mr. Corbitt, and it's what would you call this? Malicious vandalism.
What kind of how straight are these? How straight are these cops?
You never know. But
what are their shoes? What do their shoes look like? They're nice shoes. They're really nice.
They're not big city cops, but they're cops.
I'm just looking for signs that they've got more money than they're spending, and usually it's going to be shoes. Back then, you know what I mean?
Do a spot hidden.
Okay, that's a hard.
Okay. Officer Nabrinsky and Officer Chase are the ones who are interrogating you, and neither one of them seems to be out of the ordinary. They're wearing. Okay. After you're there for 45 minutes or so, Mr. Corbitt comes in. He's got on evening coat, and looks like he was sound asleep. And they called him. He's like, what's going on? And they said, well, they explained to him the situation, and he looks at you very oddly. Survey, why? Is there something I did to offend you, or? I mean, I thought we were doing business.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look. I mean, I'm just gonna overcompensate, just act like I'm super ashamed, and just like I got drunk, and and I basically I just was I was talking out my ass to my to Bosco here. I was just frustrated about just not being able to find those things, and I must have just I've just been and I'm not going to string together any kind of coherent.
They asked Mr. Corbitt, do you want to press charges? And he's like, well, we've been neighbors for quite a while. I'd like you to explain to me, maybe tomorrow, what this was all about. I want you to pay for the window and anything that was damaged. But no, I don't want to press any direct charges on the man. I don't see the point. This has never happened before. Frankly, I'm completely flabbergasted that I'm worried you're drinking. Have you lost your mind, or?
Yeah, and so I'm just going to be just start fiddling with my waistcoat and basically just really hamming up the I'm just like super embarrassed to myself and just ashamed, kind of.
And that's his assistant. Basically, his assistant to anything that. No, I have to go and clean up my shop. And they're like, well, we'll need to do at least some paperwork before we let them go. And he's like, can I go? And they're like, yeah, go. So Mr. Corbitt leaves, probably goes to his shop, cleans up, boards up the front window. You're probably out by 6 a.m., you and Bosco, and the police take you to your home and wherever Bosco lives. I don't know, 6 a.m., everybody else in the neighborhood can do spot hiddens to see if you see the police car pull up and drop off.
Don't usually hear a vehicle in this little horseshoe at this hour.
Yeah, knowing the wife, you should give them each a bonus die, because she's going to be super pissed when I get home. If they don't hear the car, they're going to hear her screams.
I've got a hard success.
Regular.
I'm in
Really,
the shower with 100.
I hope you get out of the shower with 100.
Right. So if you passed, you see the police car dropping him off in the middle of the night.
Marta.
He's
gotten himself in trouble.
You also probably notice that Mr. Corbitt's car is not there.
Yeah, Corbitt's gone already, and Survey's coming home. This quiet neighborhood. Marta, we're going to have to look for another house. This place is going to the dogs.
Is this the usual time for Corbitt to be absent?
Corbitt shop doesn't open until like 8 or 9 o'clock. So no, he wouldn't be absent. And not only is he absent, but his lights are on because he left at 4 o'clock in the morning.
My, what has Survey's done?
Magician stuff, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say that the wife comes out and she kicks my ass the whole way up the walk and into the house, and Yeah, it sounds like there's Christmas hams being just like thrown, from wall to wall. And this continues for at least 45 minutes.
It's the darndest thing, Lord. I would have thought if we were going to have trouble on the block, it'd be one of the foreigners. And here it's just a regular local fellow. Goes to show people, I guess. I feel a bit guilty myself. All this gossip that we've been up to.
What time is it?
Let's say it's going on. Let's say 7 a.m.
It's Wednesday. It's the 4th now, isn't it?
No, this is Tuesday. He did this on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So it's early in the morning of Tuesday. The one unusual thing now, well, that's the big one unusual thing is the policeman dropping off the survey, is Mr. Corbitt probably comes and goes from his house twice. He comes back around 7:30. You all notice that he is not dressed in his business suit. As he comes back, he is in the house for maybe 40 minutes and then comes out properly dressed.
So is he carrying anything? This is kind of does it look like he's bringing anything with him when he leaves the house for the first time?
Just his usual briefcase.
Okay.
He also looks angry. So, I mean, you guys are now all watching the neighborhood because this is like, what the hell happened?
I'm gonna pretend nothing happened, and I'm gonna get back to my book with mushrooms to see if I find any kind of information.
Your books on mushrooms cover probably mostly European mushroom species and cooking them. American mushroom species, there are some crossovers, but a lot of them are quite a bit different. And only New England areas. Outside New England areas, there's not enough experience for people to have started eating a lot of mushrooms.
Makes sense.
So there seems to be quite a bit of commotion in that this morning. Quite a lot of excitement. But none of you are aware of what happened except for Survey and Mr. Corbitt, obviously. Mr. Corbitt probably has to come back again sometime during the middle of the day for some reason, and then go back to his office. And do any of you guys go to work?
Yeah, I do.
That's probably the point where you see that the front of Mr. Corbitt's shop is boarded up. The window was obviously smashed.
I wonder how long it takes to get a good glazier to replace a shop window in Arkham in summer of 23. Might not be able to even get a piece of glass cut till tomorrow.
Tomorrow's 4th of July, so it'll probably be later in the week.
Yeah, glass was expensive back at the time, I think.
Is gift giving a common practice for the 4th of July?
Not necessarily, no.
No, the only thing I'd expect anyone to bring over to the barbecue would be some fireworks or a bottle of something.
Or beer.
Yeah, a bottle of, a bottle, like probably a jug of beer at that point instead of something smaller.
It's probably, they don't expect you to do all the cooking on 4th of July. Everybody probably brings, it's a potluck.
Yeah.
Nice tureen.
A string of frankfurters.
Do we want to jump ahead then to the 4th of July, or do you guys want to ask questions?
I would like to, sorry, you go, Soraya.
No, you first.
I think I want to just contact a friend of mine at the hospital, John. He works in the lab there.
Okay.
My bromide supply is running low, and I want to hear if they got the supplier to send them a couple of extra bottles. I could probably just take off his hands for a couple of days and I'll replace it. I want to ask if,
what's up?
John, my friend, do you still have a couple of bottles of bromide left?
Oh, I got anything that you need over here. Yeah, we can do that. When do you need it? This afternoon or?
Yeah, if possible, I'd like to just stock up over the holiday season. Ladies all. In any case, and the other reason for my call is, do you have by chance, or do you know an orderly surnamed Tomazinski? Do you know if he's still employed?
Yeah, Tomazinski. Yeah, he works here.
What can you tell me of him? I mean, is he an up and up guy?
I don't know. Orderly. It's the kind of the bottom of the barrel for working here. I mean, he's got a job. He does his job. He's kind of like, even amongst the orderlies, he's kind of on the bottom of the barrel. We have him cleaning up operating rooms, and it's not a very, very nice, clean job, but he does the work. And I'd say, I mean, why is he looking for another job somewhere? Or?
No, it's just I saw his role. Don't want to sound like I'm snooping, but I read his name in the paper. I was at the library looking through a couple of information articles there. Yes, it sounds like he. Did you see the newspaper of last week? Let's talk about pets disappearing and.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the jackal.
Yes. Now, it seems like he was a suspect, but like a year or so ago. And I was just wondering it was kind of interesting to see if he's still employed. But it doesn't sound like that really came out.
No, he's
at the hospital.
He's still employed here. Is he? I mean, I don't deal with him too much because I'm in the lab, but I have heard a couple of people talking about him. He's kind of got a problem with authority. He's a bit of he's an orderly, so he just, as long as he does what the hell he's supposed to do, then, nobody really cares. But, I mean, I could chat and see if he's got like any disciplinary actions against him or.
No, I don't think. No, don't do that. I don't want to cause any trouble. It will be a nuisance. On the side, I was going with the relocation of the asylum inmates.
Oh my God, it's so busy. That's
I can imagine.
Mental patients are a big problem. For one, is they never shut up. We've tried to move them all into one wing because they make a lot of noise during the night.
Whistles. Yes. So were you able to move everyone across, or how long do you think?
For the most part, I mean, the ones that aren't violent. Some of the more violent ones we had to ship to, state penitentiary.
Yes.
They've kind of made their own little wing there, but it's going to be 6 months before they can be moved back into the asylum.
Well, you I can't imagine you have direct access to them. So
to them?
I guess you.
No, I wouldn't want to go near them.
Then you spare that, my friend.
Come to think of it, going back to Tomaszowski, I think I saw him the other day with some sort of weird medallion, like a weird necklace.
Oh.
Because we were in the changing room together, and I noticed it. I didn't get a good look at it though. I thought maybe it was a locket at first, but it wasn't. It didn't look like a locket.
Like a St. Christopher's.
Well, no, it looked more like maybe a Jewish star of some sort.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know.
Star of David.
Yeah, maybe.
David Star, yeah. Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know much about Jewish people. Do they put like, you know how Jesus is on the cross? Do they put somebody on the star?
Oh, no, I don't think. No,
I don't know.
that doesn't sound right.
It was something like that. He seems rather irreligious, though. Not very, like I see, he's got some disciplinary problems, but I think he's trying. I think he might have had a rough past, and he's trying to pull himself together.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate your time, as always. I'll pop around maybe later this afternoon to.
I can send somebody over with it.
Oh well, that'll be.
Yeah, I'll send.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Have a good day. It was odd.
So you've seen the damage to the shop. Does anybody want to go do anything or say anything?
He was angry, so I'm not gonna intervene too much on it, unless he asks for me to do something for him.
Yes. I might make a point to send a note to the shop with condolences and, a small note of concern, but not any questions. Reiterate the invitation. And I frankly feel ashamed that all of this gossiping and snooping has gotten to this point. It's quite unbecoming.
Now, have any of you done anything to try to find out what the hell happened?
To the
I think
obviously Survey hasn't said anything.
I'm pretty oblivious to what happened this morning, so I'll probably walk across and, gentlemen, what in the blazes happened here?
So you're going to go in the shop?
Yeah, I'll if no one is outside, I'll probably walk inside.
And when you go inside, there's somebody in there chatting with Stanley Graves, who's the assistant. And you see Corbitt in the back sitting at his desk writing stuff. The bell rings when you come in the door, and he looks up and he sees you. Oh, Jacobus.
Mr. Corbitt. I'll walk across to him. Yeah.
And there's just imagine that there's all sorts of interesting items.
Yeah, I'll just move around. And how are you doing this morning? I see you had a spot of trouble.
Yeah. Somebody attempted to break in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow. That's a bit scary.
I had to come down here at 4:00 in the morning and clean up and board up. But, we've got it covered. It's going to be probably a week before we can get the window replaced.
Can't imagine this happening in our in this. I mean, is it like hoodlums or?
Well, they arrested somebody for it, but it was just malicious vandalism. That's what they classified it. I mean, I kind of hope that the fellow regrets his actions and tries to reform his ways. People have bad pasts, and things can get to you, and you can end up doing stupid things. And we're in a position where we can have pity and compassion. But it's a rather heavy blow. It's a surprising thing to wake up to in the middle of the night.
I can just imagine. Was anything stolen, taken?
Nothing. I think that they actually caught the guy in the process of breaking the window, and he didn't seem to know that there were patrols in this area.
Well, it's good to know that the police are actually patrolling and keeping an eye. It does make one feel a little bit safer. Well, if there's anything I can help with, please let me know. And again, you're welcome to join us tomorrow if you have some time
that's
available.
very kind of you. I'll consider it. Thank you, but it's very kind of you to come by and check on our welfare. Considering.
Well, it's the least I can do, I think, at the moment. Well, I'll not keep you longer, gentlemen. Stanley, take care, and then I'll leave.
All right.
My intention was to visit Bernard, to gift him the notes that I made about ancient Greek fertilizer, but I'm kind of hesitant now to go there on my own after seeing the police and hearing about his shop. So I'm going to try and contact, my first choice would be Jacobus, because I'm pretty sure he saw what I saw.
Okay.
That Sunday, to maybe accompany me when I eventually do visit Bernard.
All right. Well, let's say you get a hold of him in the middle of the day at work.
Sure. Jacobus. Yeah. Okay. So I'll phone his pharmacy.
Okay.
Van der Walt, apteek. Sorry, pharmacy. Yes.
Yeah. Jacobus, it's me, Horatio.
Oh, Horatio, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I wonder if you'd be kind enough to come with me at some point to visit Bernard. I have a gift for him, mainly to apologize for disturbing his greenhouse the other day. I found some interesting information about some fertilizer that the ancient Greeks used. Hopefully he'll find it useful. I know he's been after a particular useful formula. But
sounds like a good idea. He's got to order in for some chemicals, which if there's anything matching, we probably could put together with that information. Yeah, maybe you could verify some of the techniques that I found, but I don't wish to visit him on my own. If you could be kind enough to come with me. Yeah, by all means. I mean, did you hear that they broke into his shop?
I noticed the windows were boarded up on my way into campus this morning. Do you know what happened?
Kind of unsettling. No, well, I just came from there about 15 minutes ago, and apparently someone tried to break in, but luckily the police caught them. He seems to not going to press any charges against this person or persons. Seems like quite a decent guy, Mr. Bernard.
Was anything stolen?
No, it sounds like they were caught in the act in terms of just when their glass were broken. And that was that. Did rising 4 o'clock this morning. I was in the shower, so I missed kind of anything in our street.
Oh, it happened that night. Did you see surveys being dropped off by the police?
What? No.
Hang on. There was
you say survey was dropped off by the police?
Out of character, isn't that what we saw?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. He just was in the shower, so he didn't see it.
Yes, a police car came up our street and dropped off surveys. You don't think you had anything?
My goodness!
Anything to do with what happened to Bernard's shop? Did you? I know he could be.
Can't be.
He could be rather rash
Surely
at
not.
times, but very strange.
Well, I can just imagine if that was the case, how indignant some of our neighbors would be. Terrible stuff. Well, maybe it's something, I did hear some racket from Savai's house, but I mean, that was just him and his missus. He is kind of all over the show sometimes. I just thought that's like one of their normal spats.
Well,
that's kind of interesting.
One never knows what these entertainment types get up to in the early hours of the morning. I dread to think what he could have done.
Well, I shouldn't. My mind wanders. I should not. Well, we should just ask him. I'm not quite intrigued.
So
maybe.
When did you want to go and visit, Mr. Corbitt?
Whenever's convenient for you, Jacobus.
What about after work? We could pop around when you're back from the university.
This evening, yeah, yes, that's a good idea. I just don't want to go on there on my own. You understand, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, fully. I completely understand. Right, I'll see you then. It's 5:30ish.
Yes, that'll be good. Thank you. Good.
See you then.
Bye. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Survey, do you go to your shop today?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you stayed home. Right around 11 a.m. Your phone rings. Ring. Can I answer it?
I think the wife's going to answer it, and you'll hear just, come on, just drink some water. You're already drunk, and just I can't take it anymore. She's
Right.
and
Right,
I'm just
so
in the
she
background
answers
being
the
obnoxious.
phone. She answers the phone. Let's see. Telma. Hello, Telma. It's Mr. Corbitt. Is Survey there? You got to play her.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's here. God love him. God love him. He's on the sauce again, and here, you see if you can talk some sense into him.
He seems to be having some trouble. Yeah, let me talk to him. Survey, it's Mr. Corbitt. It's Bernard. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just trying to. I'm working on. I need to get back to work.
Are you going to give me some sort of explanation for?
Yeah.
Are you drinking again?
No, I'm not drunk. Do I? And just like exaggerated hiccup. No, I'm not drinking. I haven't had anything to drink. Have you been drinking?
Do you want to get together and talk about it? Do you want me to come and see you? I mean, I want to know if there's something that I've done to offend you. I'd like to find a way to resolve it.
Just yeah. Fine. We'll talk before the cookout tomorrow. I'll come out. We'll talk about it. You're right. I need to get some help.
I'll drop by after work. What? Remind me. Are you off the? Are you supposed to be off the alcohol?
I thought I'd been handling it, but I guess it's gotten the better of me. I think it's time to dry out again.
Right. If there's anything I could do, I mean, you don't owe me an explanation yet, but I would like an explanation at some point.
All right, and then I'll, I'll start arguing with my wife and not even finish the conversation. It'll eventually just, go dead.
So, we're almost done for this episode.
I'm gonna take an additional hour back at my job to finish this.
Okay. All right. The frog.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
And take it with me.
Peter, you are at home. Your wife's fixed dinner. You see at some point Mr. Corbitt leave his home and walk over to Survey's house. Horatio and Jacobus, were you going to go visit him this evening?
Yeah, I think the plan is
early evening.
Right. So this is before that. So if you guys are being observant, you also notice Mr. Corbitt go over there. Survey. You tell me what your state is around 6 p.m.
Yeah, so I'm stone cold sober. I've got my my bottle and all that, and just if I see anybody walking up the who comes over first?
Well, it's Corbitt who's coming.
Okay, and this all right. So I think as he's walking up, my wife and I will be arguing again, and she'll say, that's all I ever wanted, and I gave it my entire life for you. All I ever wanted was a family, blah blah blah, and you couldn't give it to me, could you? And just more fighting and yelling and screaming, and
Okay.
I could have got away with it. It wasn't for that idiot Bosco, and just
At that point, you hear a knock on your front door, or a doorbell if you have a doorbell. And,
I guess I'll answer it.
Okay.
And nearly fall into Corbitt's arms.
Survey. You mean like hugging him, or
no? Like I'm open the door and just like I try to overcompensate, because I want to fall backwards. Oh crap! Grab onto the doorknob and then pull myself this way, and then almost fall into him.
All right. He keeps you from landing on him. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Hey, do you want a drink? I know you like the dark liquor. I think we got some whiskey in the back.
I thought we were going to be sober or dry. Still.
Tomorrow's another day.
Let's have a drink together.
All right.
Here, why don't you sit? Here it is over here. So can you give me some sort of explanation?
Okay, yeah, and I think at this point, see, and I'm going to need to roll or something at the, just the level of deception going on. I'm just going to.
You're going to try and fast talk.
Yeah, some kind of
right.
some way to abstract that. I'm just going to convince him that I've just the whole thing with my wife and trying to have kids, and she miscarried every time. It's just been a mess.
Do a fast talk roll.
Okay. I don't have that, do I? That's a fail.
Okay. Your explanation, it's pretty loose. But he is polite, so he's not like trying to counter anything that you say. your wife is probably standing there, at least in the kitchen door, watching you. He's like, well, I hope that we can come to some sort of an agreement that that you eventually tell me exactly why you. Maybe we don't need an explanation. You know, it's you need to. You probably are under stress. You need to pull yourself together, and maybe see someone. I mean, it's just my advice. Anyway, I'll take my leave. I'll head on back home, and you have a good evening. And don't send people to break into my store. If there's anything you need in my store, just ask me.
Okay. Yeah, and just go along. Yeah, give the fake drunken night and all that.
Yeah. All right. So he leaves and he heads back home. And I think that's where we'll end it. Because the next part might take a little bit to play out. Unless you want to go 15 more minutes or so.
Yeah.
I was thinking about.
I mean, I've been waiting for some kind of shoe to drop.
Okay. You give 15 more minutes. All right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about giving him the little frog tonight, just as coming to him, like waiting at his door and telling him, I've seen that you were.
Before you do that, because I think Horatio and Jacobus were going to also visit him.
Oh man, they were going to show up too. Okay.
Well, they're going to visit me, not you.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I just don't have enough.
All right. So Horatio and Jacobus, you said you were going to go visit Mr. Corbitt. We'll do that next week. Well, you're getting ready to walk out across the street towards him.
Sure.
Eugene, you're also thinking about doing the same thing. Peter, you see Mr. Corbitt come back home. He goes into his house. The lights are on. And for 10 or 15 minutes or so, nothing unusual happens. Survey. Tell me what you're feeling in the living room of your own house. Your wife has scolded you a few times and she's in the kitchen. You're alone with yourself.
What am I feeling?
Yeah, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Okay, yeah. So
you're very angry, I think.
I'm angry.
I mean, do you feel angry?
No, I think it's just the malignant narcissism of this, this guy who's always the smartest dude in the room. You know, that he's just kind of the myopia, or he's just been so focused on something real that even though he's just chasing after, even the slightest shadow of, he thinks this Corbitt dude's there's something up, and he's just, whether it's real or not, he's just trying to, get him, show me something real, instigate, instigate something. The whole India thing.
You're going over all of this in your mind.
Yeah, but with the supreme confidence that like it's all going to come together, and then I'll be able to take a bow, like my greatest trick. Just the apophenia and the connections that aren't really there, starting to just, All
right. Are you sitting in your chair or on your couch?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. You're sitting there thinking about this, and you're looking at your coffee table, and there's something weird about your coffee table. You start to notice that the legs, which are normally straight on your coffee table seem to be bent, like they've literally been bent. They're sort of sitting oddly on the ground. You start to notice things around your room are moving. The pictures on the wall seem to be moving in a kind of odd manner. Your wife says something to you from the other room, but her voice is unusually deep and sort of with a very powerful vibrato. She steps into the living room with her hands on akimbo, and there's something very wrong with her. She is green, not the normal color of what she usually is. You start to notice something flying around your head, and it's rather odd. You become very agitated, and I would like you to do a power roll.
Okay, that's a success.
Okay.
Just a regular though.
There's something about your wife that frightens you, and you stand up, and as she moves towards you, you move away from her. You get to the front door, and when you open it and step outside, you don't seem to be in Arkham any longer. There seems to be kind of blue ice in all directions with mountains way off in the distance. You start backing away, and although it should be cold, it feels quite hot, like blistering hot. You start removing your clothing and flailing about. And then you see off in the distance, there's something that looks at first like a car, but as it is getting closer, you can see that there are spindly sort of legs on the sides of it. And before you know it, there is a gigantic spider, the size of a small bus, that is heading in your direction. You scream, you start running down the street or down across the ice, and the thing is catching up to you, and you can hear it snarling, and the wind is blasting, and you trip and you fall, and this thing suddenly comes up and looms over you, and the last thing that you see is your own face reflected in 8 large, shiny, metallic black eyes. For all of the rest of you, there is suddenly a noise on the block. You guys are doing whatever you're doing, and you suddenly hear some yelling. You think, oh geez, Survey is having a fight with his wife. But her screaming is more distress screaming, and his screaming becomes what sounds like distress. As you guys look outside, you see Survey running down his porch, tearing off his clothes, runs screaming down the street, and he suddenly collapses at the end of the street, and with his wife chasing after him. And that's where we will end the story for this evening. Is that a good enough spot for you?
Yep.
Our players included Joseph Gita, David Gassaway, Will Logston, Chris Von Veik, and Simon Benfey, with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members and you can set up private games and learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. There's a link below. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.